A very good evening and welcome to this edition of the Nbs Frontline. We apologize for the late start of the show, but we're having a very important documentary that you are watching. So many people are beginning to call to ask what's going on. My name is Charles Mwangushampagi, and the Frontliners are here. We'll be discussing beyond the budget 2022-2023. What next? There's also controversy over money allegedly paid out to members of parliament. 40 million Uganda shillings, that's slightly above $10,000. That's about $11,000 that was allegedly paid out to members of parliament. Parliament as an institution has disowned it. The leading opposition party has asked its members to refund the money. So I don't know. Members, we'll get some answers about that. But also we're discussing this in the context of a major conflict, a civil conflict, right near our border in the Democratic Republic of Congo, East Africa's youngest member, newest member, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and trading of allegations, accusations amongst the member states of the East African community, because a conflict in the neighborhood can actually damage your budgeting process. Let's hear more from some of our reporters compiled earlier today, what they compiled earlier today.
Nbs Frontline. 2022-2023 national budget has finally been delivered to the country, with the Minister of Local Government taking the lion's share for the first time in history. The focus this time will be on parish development model, a well-thought-out idea aimed at elevating poverty at the grassroots. But before the money is delivered to the beneficiaries, there are fears that if not properly handled, the program may go down the drains, just like the many poverty alleviation programs, which cannot be accounted for. But behind this 48 trillion shillings budget is the 73 trillion debt over and above the World Bank ceiling. How did we get here, and how can we ever pay this huge debt in the midst of the continued borrowing? And as the population continues to grapple with the country's economic crisis, reports have emerged from their representatives in Parliament of a cash bonanza. Each legislator has allegedly received 40 million shillings. If it turns out to be true, how will they explain this to their electorates, those who must part with their little incomes to sustain them in the House? But why are legislators reading from different scripts, which section admitting they received the money and another claiming they are still looking for it? And from the corridors of the National Unity Platform, there is a directive to their representatives to return the money. Is it possible that they can return it? And how many legislators have ever returned this kind of money? Or is it a directive simply made to excite the population? This is the Frontline.
Nbs Frontline. It is the Nbs Frontline, and the panelists. Let me start with the frontliner, President General of the Democratic Party, Norbert Mao. We call him Chairman Mao. Very nice to have you, sir.
I thought you were going to say the Democratic Republic
of Congo.
Thank you, Charles. Good evening, viewers.
Very nice to have you. And dressed in a very special way this evening, from the Uganda Government Media Center, from the National Resistance Movement, frontliner Ofono Opondo. Very nice to have you, sir.
Thank you. Why do you say special dress?
You stand up and people see. You should stand up and people see.
Thank you, Charles. Good evening to our viewers.
Thank you. And we have from Butambala, from the National Unity Platform, the Honorable Mwanga Kivumbi. Very nice to have you, sir.
Shadow Minister for Finance.
Yes.
Who's now swimming in 40 million?
From Kasese, from the Alliance for National Transformation, frontliner, the Honorable Winnie Kizo. Very nice to have you, ma'am.
Good evening, Charles. Good evening, viewers, and good evening, fellow panelists.
And from the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, former academic, he questioned the economics that work.
I'm still academic.
He's still academic, he says. we're discussing the transitions. We have the Permanent Secretary and Secretary to the Treasury, Ramadan Gobi. Very nice to have you, sir.
Thank you for having me.
For Ramadan Gobi, the budget that was read on 14th of June was his first budget, actually 10 months into the office. For Matia Kasaija, this was his 8th budget since 2016. That'll be about 8 budgets. No, 6 budgets. His 6th budget since 2016. The big question is, beyond the budget, what next? Speaking to, presenting his budget to Parliament, Matia Kasaija said this budget was aimed at, he said this budget, the focus of the budget was to kickstart the process of getting households still engaged in subsistence into the money economy, support businesses, restore jobs and livelihoods lost during COVID-19 pandemic, and protect families from the rising commodity prices. He also said about the rising commodity prices, he said maintaining a market-based determination of price was a key consideration for this budget. And he said there will be expedition of improvement of alternative fuel import routes across Lake Victoria to avoid unnecessary supply disruptions using appropriate fiscal and monetary policies. And he said the government cannot influence price levels whose changes are driven by external shocks. We will therefore not be applying measures which can lead to long-term and painful distortions. We'll be discussing some of those issues. Let me start with the PSST. Mr. Ramadan Gobi, your first budget. You on the outside, you're looking in from inside, you prepared this budget, presented it. How exactly does the budget you presented, 48 trillion Uganda shillings, heal the issues, the sicknesses of our economy?
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I would like to, first of all, greet my fellow panelists. This is also my first time to come back to this bench after quite a number of months. I used to be here.
To be a regular.
Yes, sometimes, and also to greet Ugandans wherever they are. When I went to finance in July last year, my main intent was, first of all, to actually reform the way we were budgeting. The national budget used, and I've been a critic, as you know, of these processes over years, when I was still in the area of doing research and teaching. The process was that the budget used to be so dominant that the budget used to inform the plan instead of the plan informing the budget. We have a national development plan, but you would find a number of things which are dominating the budget coming from what some people wanted to do and not what the plan was telling us we should budget. So when I arrived there, I remember the first thing I told my team is that from today, we need to start refocusing ourselves in such a way that the national development plan informs the national budget. And right away, we started a process of reforming the national budget. I should tell you, Charles, that so far, of course it's going to be a marathon, but I should say so far I'm very, very satisfied that our budget for 2020-23 has been informed by the National Development Plan, largely, and you will find that a number of things, right from the theme of the budget, which is trying to kickstart the full monetization of the economy by getting people who are outside the economy, the people of Uganda, to get integrated in the economy so that they can also partake in this progress, either by doing commercial agriculture or engaging in industry or expanding and broadening the service sector, which is already a dominant sector in the economy, or the younger people who are interested in digital transformation, like the way we are here in this setting, or trying also to ensure that we access and enter markets. And having had that theme, we're now looking at how do we actualize it in terms of allocative efficiency. And that's what we embarked on to reform by ensuring that we move money from areas which are not aligned to the priorities which the government has set, and move it to those areas which are of priority, first and foremost. And we managed to look into that budget without carrying out just what we call unilateral cuts. Cut here, cut there, no. Or pro rata cuts, cut 40%, no. But let us read every budget line and try to see whether it is aligned to the priorities. Where there are no alignments, then we cut that money and put it in a basket. We realized nearly 7 trillion, 1.68 trillion shillings. And this is the money which we said number one priority, we have been told by His Excellency the President, should be ensuring that resources go down to where Ugandans are at the parish. So we got...
Can I just cut in a little there?
Yes.
I've seen Parliament claiming that it actually discovered that as redundant money within the budget.
There was no redundant money, and we shall discuss that.
Yes, I've read an article from an official from Parliament that says a lot of monies that had been allocated in areas that they shouldn't have been, what he termed redundant money was returned to create the about almost 7 trillion that you're talking about. But many people would say that your budget, the verdict is still out there on this budget. The allocative efficiency, the ability of government now, beyond your ministry, to be able to execute what it has committed to. But let me ask a specific question. Alignment to the National Development Plan assumes the normal, because the National Development Plan was developed in normal time. The budget you're making, or you have, that was recently read to us on Tuesday, is a budget in abnormal times. The country is recovering from 2 years of COVID-19. This is the third year. It is being faced, it has been hit with a major crisis of escalation of commodity prices.
Yes.
Yesterday, fuel was selling at most pump stations, on average, 5,779, some places. As of close of today, it had jumped to 999 for diesel. You do not know what the price will be tomorrow, and that will escalate. So a budget you have presented in these times that you say is religiously aligned to the NDP, does it respond to the times? How does it?
Thank you. Of course, I've told you the first objective was to ensure that we align ourselves to the development agenda of the country. A country which transforms is one which doesn't get distracted by shocks. You have to just adjust yourself to the shocks, but don't get distracted. We have a longer-term agenda of ensuring that we transform Uganda from a pre-modern economy to an economy which can create opportunities for everybody in the modern world. And that was the first fundamental we were addressing in this budget. But we were mindful, as you are stating, that we are budgeting at a time when, for example, Ugandans are under lockdown. By the time we were budgeting, actually the economy was still under lockdown. And therefore, that's when we started the budgeting process. We had to align our budget strategy to about 3 major objectives. The first one being the one which is aligned to the longer-term agenda or the medium-term agenda of transforming the economy, as I've said, by moving people who are in subsistence, supporting them to move into the money economy. The second objective was aligned to recovery of the economy. How do we support households, businesses, as well as the overall economy to recover from the pandemic? And a number of interventions are in the budget. And then the third objective was to ensure macroeconomic stability alongside security and stability of the overall country. And those 3 objectives were the anchor on which we built this now budget. And you'll find that much as you want to deal with the commodity prices, you don't want to deal with them using policy interventions which are going to have longer-term distortion on the way the economy runs, because there you run the risk of failing to recover the economy as you are dealing with the commodity prices, or of transforming the Ugandans whom you want to get into the monetary economy, because the resources you have thrown them in areas which are temporary, because the shocks, you know, shocks are like buses or taxis. Another one is always on the way as one is moving off the stage. For example, a few months ago, we thought COVID-19 was the biggest shock which is going to stop us from doing anything. All of a sudden, as we were getting out of the lockdown, we thought we had now stabilized, then commodity prices came in. We don't know what is likely to come in a few months from now. Therefore, as an economic manager, you need to know how to balance all of those shocks to ensure that they don't completely distract you from your medium to longer term goal. And that's what this budget
What are you planning for? Because you're talking about moving a 39% of the population into the money economy. Statistically, you've made progress to move people out of poverty. In real terms, you have an almost permanent number of Ugandans that have remained in absolute poverty. That's number one. Number two, how do you explain away the fact that government is simply being insensitive? It's thinking that because we are located in that geographical part of the world, that people will be able to eat and sleep however they sleep. You're not making any intervention to help them recover. So the crisis is in the individual's pocket. Government doesn't seem to feel it that way. That's why it's refusing to intervene.
But why are you saying that the government is doing nothing to recover? Of course, I've told you this budget is tailored on those 3 pillars. And in that very budget you are talking about, there are a number of interventions which are intended to support households, businesses, as well as corporations to recover.
Thank you.
Number one, I can give you some.
We'll come back. We'll come back to that. I need to to draw the other panelists into this discussion. Chairman Mao, I want to jump straight to you and ask, what next? The budget has been read. You've listened to Mr. Gobi explain his budget, his very first budget, and how it works. The circumstances of this budget dictate how we perceive it, what we read in it. I know you're following it closely. So maybe you have some questions for...
I'm of 2 minds. My rational mind is very excited about this reformist budget, which is really centered around an idea that can ignite growth from the base. My political mind asks, will they do it? You know, if you have somebody who is fond of issuing bouncing checks, your level of excitement has to be moderate when you receive yet another post-dated check. Each time the date starts arriving, you start having anxiety. Will the bank honor it? It is true what Dr. Ramadan Gobi has said. Having been a head of a local government, we used to be boxed in what they call indicative planning figures. So you are boxed in with a figure. This is a dreamer's budget. So the society has been given a license to dream. Kampala can dream the way they want to dream. Fort Portal can dream the way they want to dream, and so on. So when the minister said it is a people-centered budget, our expectation is that we will now be able to have our dreams unlimited. Now, one of the worst problems we face in life and even the management of society is that those who are in charge give you restricted choices. They say you can either do this or do that. Now, it is important for you to rebel against those choices, to actually convince yourself that there are other choices beyond. We were the last in P7 to do objective questions.
Objective type questions?
Yes, 1981. So we always had some questions that provided none of these. Now, there are some things that are of interest to me. And when I'm reading the budget, I start by recognizing that there's a government in power. It has a political party. It has a manifesto. And we cannot ignore that one. In fact, the Paris model is stated in the NRM manifesto, though most of it was stolen from the manifesto some of us wrote.
Go forward.
The Amama Mbabazi campaign,
yes,
which we called we called it the sub-county model. They brought it lower. Now, there should be freedom even to go to the village, to have a village model in some places. So, my expectation is that that flexibility will be there. Secondly,
that expectation is of the political you or the other you? Because you said you have two minds. So that expectation is of which
is the
mind?
rational one.
The rational one, okay.
Yes, of my rational intellectual Norbert Mao.
Okay, and the political
The political Norbert Mao would make a proposal that how can citizens become more involved in monitoring performance of this budget. I think sometimes people think that when the government fails, you don't fail with it. As a matter of fact, when the government fails, you also fail with it. You, just like I heard the passionate statement by the Minister of Finance who said, you who is a thief, who is corrupt, you also suffer from your own corruption. Because if you steal money for a road and you are sick and you need to move fast, you are going to be delayed by the bad road. You ate the money, you are going to die before reaching the hospital. So if you bring fake equipment, one day you'll be taken to an intensive care unit where the fake equipment will be
supposed to work on you.
And you'll die. So we need the political class to be out there to explain how the way they say you may not change the direction of the wind, but by adjusting your sails, you can determine how the same wind can take you where you want to go. Indeed, when you go to the ocean, boats are going in all directions. Not because the wind is changing direction, but because each boat sees how to tap the wind to take it where it wants to go. So we will have more moral authority to denounce him, because definitely we will come back to talk about budget performance. And of course, these machines will be recording his infectious optimism. And now we will be saying, tell us.
Okay, thank you. I want to move to Ofono Pondo. Many people were expecting, have been scrutinizing this budget. It's been discussed even before it was read. It's been discussed post the time it was read. Comments on the parish development model that government seems to be putting a lot of emphasis on are that how is it different from what we have done before? You had a program for eradication, Poverty Eradication Action Plan, PEP. You had
program for the alleviation of poverty and the social cost
the president
of adjustment.
said alleviation is a bad word. He wanted eradication. I think he said many years. You had PAPSCA, you had all these so many things to arrive at where we are. Attempting to throw money at a problem, at an imaginary problem, and thinking that it's money that's going to solve it, instead of doing, of addressing this differently. You speak to the people of Molanda.
So, in a way, you have helped me to answer Honorable Mao, who claimed that parish development model was stolen from the paper they wrote in 2016.
I said partly.
Partly stolen from their paper.
Because, borrowed.
Yeah, because this is not the first attempt by the government of Uganda to reach the ordinary person, to support them come out of the subsistence production. President Museveni likes using the word distilled. The parish development model comes as part of lesson from previous similar programs, but now distilled, so that we deliberately go and do planning at parish level, spend money there, consciously bring people together in the hope that we can pull this togetherness to make better and faster impact in lifting the people, in uplifting the people who are in subsistence. It is a more distilled approach, so to speak, than in Tandikwa, where you go and say, we are giving you mango seedlings, whether somebody is interested in it or not. You remember we were taking coffee at sub-county level, and then we ask people to come. Some come and pick seedlings, don't plant. Some plant, don't weed, don't take care of it, and at the end of the day you have wasted money. This is more distilled approach. And please, now, it's also not correct to say it is the program that is taking the most money. If my recollection serves me well, parish development model is 1 trillion.
Yes.
This 1.59.
Yes. Now, there are programs, there are sectors that are taking up to 4.2 trillion.
Education.
3.9, and so on. That's where the price, and I think those, if you look at the location, they answer to what the PS was saying, what the minister said, what the president said. What is our long-term strategic objective? That we must continue with the momentum of building the key levers that service the economy, so that at no one point we find it lacking. For example, today we are calling on investors, local and foreign. In order for them to continue coming and find fertile ground, we must have usable roads, transportation. We must have available and, where possible, affordable power and water. We must find available, affordable, easy to use ICT system. And so it becomes imperative that those key, they must find security, stability, tranquility. That can't be challenged. And so it becomes imperative that spending on security remains our focus. Even for the people to do parish development model, you need tranquility in those villages so that the women groups that store their money in grass-thatched huts, in small houses, nobody comes at night to raid them because somebody thinks that the women group have 20 million in their small box. You need those. I also disagree with you when you say we are doing nothing. Those interventions, when you give somebody 1 million shillings to clear their field, it means you have saved them from the money they should have used to buy school for their children. Because if you didn't give them that 1 million shillings, or even 200,000 shillings to clear their field, and that means they would have to sell a goat to clear the field. But now they can sell the goat to take care of the child's school needs. So you have, in a way, helped them deal with other challenges.
Or maybe keep the children at school to do the clearing instead of sending them to school.
Precisely. Now, so there are the interventions the government is making are actually supposed to support productivity of the local producer.
Are these interventions also looking at what is taking money out of these citizens' pockets?
Yes.
Especially looking at the context of the time in which this budgeting is being done?
Yes.
How?
For example, if you spend more money in primary health care, immunization, water and sanitation, hygiene, it means less children will get whooping cough. So parents will spend less money in medical facilities.
Let's apply the context of the current commodity prices.
If you improve accessibility to primary health care, those families that choose to go to government public facilities will have more money in their hands to spend on production. In the current situation, because you want it to be your pet subject, I think we have a problem of orientation. There are those of you who have bought the idea that we should have direct government intervention by way of one, subsidy, by way of removing a series of taxes, by way of fixing prices of the things you say are taking out people's money. If you fix the price, for example, of fuel, are you also going to fix the price of matoke and chicken? But what's our own experience over the last 36 years? That by letting tampering market forces to be the dominant driver of the economy, we have achieved a lot. And that's why, again, I want to conclude with, for now, with the Honorable Man who says, if you have somebody who has been giving you a bouncing check, if now he issues you another check, please take it with a pinch of salt. If we had been giving, if this government has been giving predominantly bouncing checks, one, the economy wouldn't have expanded. The country wouldn't be as stable as today, because today Honorable Mao and I can travel to Gulu and find hotel accommodation, find somebody who's able to give us food at 3 a.m. in Gulu hotel, however small the place is, we shall find where to sleep. If we had been giving bouncing check as the dominant feature of this administration, we wouldn't be where we are.
But Mr. Pondo, you don't appreciate. You
remember about a year ago, Honorable Mao is still here. He said that why did we do Gulu Kitgum Road? No. I want to complete.
It wasn't me.
You said, and you said the actually people who are along that road, they mostly sit by the roadside and watch cars being driven by other people. And remember, I answered you. I said, but at least now they are able to watch cars. Previously, they didn't even have the opportunity to see cars. Now they see cars. That is a better situation. So if we had been giving bouncing checks, it would still be necessary for a business person in Arua to physically travel to Kampala to Chikubo to pack their own things. Because of the development of the road and ICT, which is reliable, it is now possible to call my supplier. Wait, it's now possible for me to call my supplier of honey in Zombo. And I say, please load for me pure honey, 20 jerrycans. And I will receive it here in under 8 hours. I don't have to board a bus to go to Zombo to physically pick my honey from Zombo back to Kampala. So if I'd been giving predominantly bouncing checks, I don't think we would even be discussing any matter.
Don't they have a right of 1 minute reply?
I have two panelists who haven't said a word yet, but I'll give you 30 seconds.
To get it off my chest.
Sure, I'll give you 30 seconds.
First, as you know, OO is a trained propagandist, and his job is to distort. So don't put your mouth in my words. Now, I was saying we appreciate the road to Juba. Actually, that is the road I was referring to. And I said, what is the point of giving that nice road if you don't empower the people to take advantage of the road? That is what is in the 10-point program, an integrated economy. And then I said, the road is even so high to show that it's not meant for us. Just like the British built the railway, not for Ugandans and Kenyans. So I'm totally unapologetic about what I said, and I'll not allow you to distort it. Secondly,
I gave you 30 seconds.
Okay. You said that the government has not been giving bouncing checks. The signatory to the bouncing checks has been humble enough to admit mistakes. Who are you, OO, to come here?
The signatory to the checks.
I said, if we had been giving predominantly bouncing checks, we wouldn't be well.
So you're admitting that some bouncing checks have been issued, eh? Some checks have bounced.
Some checks have bounced.
Okay.
But also this government has been now for over 35 years. And in terms of, dimensions, there's a fourth dimension. You have length, breadth, height. The fourth one is time. Surely, even you, Charles, for 35 years, surely you can achieve something. So, even if you're an underachiever, I've known people who have done primary school for 15 years. Eventually they still pass. Now, so really, don't take us in that direction. Let us discuss Ramadan Gobi's budget. Because you'll now make us divert you to our usual thing, which we enjoy. But the fourth dimension can't be ignored. Surely, even if you're moving like a millipede, in 35 years, by now, you'd probably be in Kinshasa. That's the fourth dimension of time.
Let's bring into this discussion the Honorable Winnie Kiza.
Can that dimension of time apply to DP, which has been in existence?
No, we don't exaggerate our achievements.
I will not
unlike you.
I will not let the two frontliners run away with the show and deny my other panelists a chance to contribute. Honorable Winnie Kiza, we were watching a documentary just before we started this discussion, and he's saying this documentary speaks to the discussion we're going to have, which is the question of the budget and the what next after the budget.
Yeah.
Could you bring that to our viewers? I mean, the parallels or the comparisons that you're making.
I think Ramadan painted a very rosy picture of this budget that was read, and looking at it from the outward, it's really a very good document, properly made, nice wordings, and very nice assurances. But looking at the documentary that we watched before the Frontline started, it speaks volumes. It takes us back to the Uganda National Household Survey report that revealed that for every 5 Ugandans, 1 of them is poor and cannot afford 6,000 a day. It still goes back to remind us of, in the same report, that only 1% of our population earns 1 million and above. And speaking to a budget that is having many of the young people getting defiled, many of the young people pregnant, and here we are talking about a parish development model that is going to use the same conveyor belt that we used for the poverty alleviation program.
PAP.
Yeah. The poverty eradication action plan.
PIP.
Then we get the Entandikwa. Then we get the Myoga. We are using the same pipeline, the same channel of transmission from the center to the common person that we intend to serve. To me, I'm just looking at it as a new wine in an old bottle. If our government is not going to check its excesses in corruption, for example, we may look at this document and we still fold our arms and we say, what a loss. If we are not getting assurance that the unnecessary supplementary budgets are going to come in midway, and supplementary budgets of things that were even foreseen could have been budgeted for in the main budget, still we shall miss a point. The budget, if it is not implemented in tandem with the development plan, like Ngobi is saying, it distorts development and it distorts the original idea and the motivation behind the National Development Plan. But here we have always seen the budget, yes, being a good, reasonably good document, but its implementation being distorted along the way. That is why, even at the beginning, you talked about the 40 million that was dished out to members of parliament. You talked about it.
Yes, we're about to confirm whether it was actually dished
whether
out
it was dished or not. But whether it was dished or not, this has been the disease that we have been dealing with as a country, of having priorities set aside and then you deal with emerging issues that are not even having any correlation with what was budgeted for. We are having a budget that has been read. The minister was candid enough to tell us that we are having a shortfall in tax revenue of 939 billion shillings. How are we going to plan for this shortfall as we get into the next budget, and as we promise Ugandans that they are going to have a people-centered budget, a budget that works for everyone, a budget that will get them from the poverty that they have currently to the promised land of Israel? I still want to find out how we are going to service the debt. In his statement, the minister said our public debt stock stands at 73 trillion. And when you look at our debt burden, you realize that much of the money that we are going to spend is to service the debt and pay wages. So literally, less of the money is going into service delivery. I'm looking at...
If you look at the same budget, you find
yes.
that only about 23 trillion is going to be collected domestically. The other, 40? 20?
25.
25.
Yes.
Or from a budget of 48 trillion, it means the balance of...
Is Mabanja?
No, not all. You have also some grants. The minister told you World Bank
gave him 200
our
and...
women 267
67?
million dollars, which is equivalent to about 800 billion shillings as a grant. Also, actually, I wanted to tell you, almost now, all the projects that are in that budget, the new projects from World Bank and other partners, about 50% of those projects, on average, the project funding is grants.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
But you know,
Please
the same
conclude your
World Bank, in its third quarter report, put our public debt at 52.3%. And actually, even the parliamentary report was putting our public debt at 53.3%, while the minister's report is putting our public debt at 49%. So this distortion of facts as well limits our planning levels. When we go into implementation, we have this debt that we have hidden, and yet we have to pay it. So what does that speak to the implementers of the budget? What does this speak to what is coming next as we implement the budget? I still want to think that Ugandans should not anxiously wait to see the budget sort their problems like they are expecting. Many of our people at the parishes are dancing because they think they have got money. But what the implementers are also not telling the public is that this is not a token. This is kind of a revolving fund that comes to you, you play your part and pass it over to someone else. The fund is being politicized, and this is one reason why it is likely not to achieve the purpose for which it is meant. Many of the Ugandans think it is a casino again, like they did to Entandikwa, like they did to Emioga, like they did to Poverty Alleviation Action Fund.
Someone has sent me the full list of some of those interventions before. I'll read it at some stage. But I want to move quickly to the Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi. You're the Shadow Minister for Finance. You as Parliament passed this budget. Tell us about the budget you passed. What kind of budget did you pass?
First of all, let me start with the three broad issues. A government is elected for 5 years, has a manifesto for 5 years. That means ideally it could budget for 5 years, because most of the projects are multi-year. But then what's the essence of yearly annual budgeting? The only essence and necessity is that within a year there are emerging issues that require intervention. That's why a budget is sequenced to follow a State of the Nation's address. A State of the Nation's address that you are alive to the prevailing circumstances. Therefore, for a budget to be read and is indifferent to the prevailing circumstances is to defeat the very notion of annual budgeting. That's the first broad issue. The second assumption is what my brother here talks about, NDP 3. They assume it is an authentic document. The way they quote it is like a biblical or a Quranic document. But remember, we had NDP 1, NDP 2, we are now at NDP 3. Even the evaluation of NDP 2 has not been completed. And we rushed into NDP 3. I've been in a space where we are now trying to impeach it. Because, as O.O. said, and I want to quote him, the anchor of...
With compliments?
No, with compliments for understanding certain things. With compliments. The anchor of NDP is based on a paradigm that security is a driver of progress.
Isn't it?
No. He will tell you the economic base determines the superstructure. Basic economics. He used to teach that in school. It's a very primary notion.
No, you are
That
forgetting
along
the
the way,
phrase
I know what
versa. You are
it
forgetting
is the
that
structure
phrase.
that determines the economic base.
Primarily, the economic base determines the superstructure, and the superstructure vice versa. Eventually, will determine the economic base.
But
It will get you lost in the thesis, antithesis, synthesis.
So you're going into territory.
Let's
doesn't
go
really
away.
understand.
no. So the anchor of your thinking.
Chairman Mao is advising you not to fall into the trap.
No. I know where I'm going.
Yes.
I've thought through these issues and I've interacted them at a practical level. So the first thinking around NDP3 is that even countries that fought so many wars reach somewhere, pause the state, and begin to see the economy as the guarantee of durability and predictable progress, not security. And NDP3 is on that assumption, which is a wrong assumption. The other one, which is a big assumption, but I will not elucidate so much on it, is and this could only appeal to Gobi, the difference between solvency and liquidity, okay, on how to go about the development of a country. But let me also go to the real issues. One, you are speaking about flagging 1 trillion out of 48 as a game changer. The parish development model is 1 trillion out of 48. But now, let us look for the 47. Where is it? Okay? You've just said 33 trillion of this budget will finance recurrent expenditure. Only 14 will go to development. Now, you are going to collect 25. That means your collections, you will not be able to meet your recurrent expenditure.
How much of that? You want to give us two portions, recurrent and development. Where does debt servicing fall?
No, I'm coming into it.
Sure.
I'm coming into it. He's speaking about an economy where 17 trillion is debt management. He's failing. Let's talk about a consistent failure of a debt rollover, what they are calling debt refinancing, that will average 8 trillion, for which we will pay interest both on a debt rollover and amortization. We are going to pay nearly 5 trillion in interest payment. Now you are flagging as a game changer of 1 trillion, but you are hemorrhaging 5 in debt management. And my heart went out when the Minister of Finance said our nominal debt to GDP . By the way,
You're mixing up the numbers a little bit.
it is
53, 55, 49, what is it?
53 to 55, but not 49.
Okay.
So our GDP ratio was above that. The other issue was, you see, they are even hiding our debt burden. Let me speak it in the Uganda that I know, and then I will interpret it in English.
Yes, you'll translate.
Sente zebakubanja za njawulo ku zeweewoze. Okay? They speak about okwewola. They don't speak about okubanjibwa. So when you are computing the overall debt burden, you should be candid enough to include areas, people who have supplied you and you have not paid. Okay, normal things, even at a personal level. So for them, they report for you the 73 borrowed money, not the debt burden, for which they compute even the 55. So you are in a worse situation. You have, what are we calling it? You have debt areas of 4 trillion. Verified 1.5, you can't pay. And these are ordinary people that have supplied you kaunga, you've eaten their kaunga, they've supplied janjaro, you've eaten your bijanja, and you don't pay. You can imagine, he has budgeted only 400 out of 1.4. So he's
400 billion.
Yeah, he's Karyama Banja. You see, that is one other issue. The other
Could we ask Chairman Mao to help us translate? No, the Luganda.
The Luganda. Those are different things. Now, the other thing is, you have also got what they have borrowed from Bank of Uganda, 3 trillion, for which they can't pay. They are going to pay 250. Now, they have a contingent liability of 160 trillion. All these are official documents of government. Therefore, when they are reporting our debt burden, okay, they report for you only money borrowed. They don't tell you the extent of the obligation of the debt. So your country is in very, very serious deep waters. Therefore, for people flagging off the danger of, then you got prioritization. That's why you have a trouble with NDP 3. Is that NDP 3 still budgets governance and security are the number one issue to spend money on. And do you know why now it is not the number one issue on the budget? It's because they crowded out of the pie chart, they took out the legislature and the judiciary to engineer so that it is now human capital. And here, that is the number one. But the actual thing is, you are still spending more money on governance and security. And security, where do you spend your money? You are spending your money not on the welfare of our soldiers. A large part of your security goes to classified expenditure.
Do you think the situation in Bunagana informs some of these considerations?
Of course.
Today, as we're discussing here.
Bunagana is just the other day.
Yeah, but it's been.
Yeah, but yeah, the Bunagana issue have different positions.
Felix Kweje said there was
I was
some
telling you about
that
security. It's not about the ordinary soldier is still sleeping in Mama Ingia Pole. Okay? Struggling with the 2 uniforms. There are women of police personalities in this country. We are the other day rebelling. A large part of our police barracks are off power grid. For better day, they are in darkness. But a large chunk of that money goes out there. He knows. We are now investigating, and I have a keen interest, whether the reported 8 debt rollover is authentic.
Okay.
Or it is another way of hiding money that sponsors political patronage.
Okay, we need to take a commercial break, but I'll read a message from the Honorable Abdul Katuntu, who says the parish development model is forced transformation of the rural agriculture and urban poor. The rural poor are engaged in subsistence agriculture, which is based on land. The resource, the resource of the NDP, the PDM, have to be distributed as follows: youth 30%, women 30%, the elderly 10%, people with disabilities 10%, others 20%. The question is, who owns the land, which is the factor of production which will transform subsistence agriculture? It is the 20%. So how will 20% invest in PDM transformation, in PDM transform the rural agriculture? And he adds and says, the land is not owned by the youth, it's not owned by the women, it's not owned by people with disabilities. The above 3 own 70% of PDM, but do not own the land. That's from the Honorable Abdul Katuntu. We'll take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we'll pick this up. Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi has to confirm to our viewers and us here whether his members actually received the money that his party is saying should be refunded.
Nbs Frontline.
You're still watching the NBS Frontline with Chairman Norbert Mao, Ofono Pondo, the Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi, Honorable Winnie Kiza, and Permanent Secretary of the Treasury, Ramadan Gobi. Dennis Musinguzi watching us had sent a message and said, Entandikwa Poverty Eradication Action Plan, Plan for Modernization of Agriculture, Prosperity for All, Operation Wealth Creation, Youth Livelihood Project, many, many others. And then he adds and says, public policy is no more a framework for service delivery. It's a political tool for political survival. The budget oils political survival. The flowery promises of the PSST has outlined are only sustained by false hope. He will return at the close of the financial year to give a post-mortem explanation of how things didn't work. Will you, sir? You can also respond to what the other members have raised.
You have so many
Yes?
questions and issues, but I will try to answer those I can manage.
In summary.
In summary, because I will start with Chairman Mao, who talked of the implementation challenge we have as a country, that even very beautiful policy propositions may fail to get the results. Of course, as a student of public sector economics, I've always learned that if you want to improve the performance of a public policy, ensure that you start with the most critical reform. And in this case, it has been the clarity of the budget, the clarity of the intent. I'm sure now most Ugandans would know what we intend to achieve. After that, we are going to move on reforming our implementation planning and execution. And within a few months, you're going to see us doing that, Chairman Mao, to address the weaknesses we have in implementation. Move to accountability reform. How do we measure results at the end of the day? When we say we have allocated so much money to do parish model, to do agro-industry, to do the infrastructure here and there, how do we measure the results themselves, and how do we ensure that those people whom we have given the money are accountable? And then finally, the monitoring and evaluation of these. So I like your actually thinking, because you are positivist, you are looking at this as not an impossible dream, and I would want to mobilize all Ugandans to start actually thinking that we can change these things. The parish model, Honorable Mao, is actually as old as the decentralization policy in Uganda, which took the power and resources to the people, only that the resources didn't go as much as the power to elect leaders and so on is concerned. Me, I'm very excited with the parish model, because for the first time now, the Republic of Uganda is saying, let the resources, their memo items, the discretionary budget, as you know, Honorable Chivumbi, is 32 trillion. It's what you had the powers as Parliament to appropriate. Beyond that, we are talking. So the 1 trillion is a lot of money, and it's going to really help. The only thing is, how do we do it at the village? And that's where all of us, we need to put more emphasis. The Charles is talking of these anti-poverty programs of the past. That what is new? After all, there have been these interventions before. What is new is that we have learned lessons from those anti-poverty programs. So when we were designing this model on what should be done, for the first time we said, let us not target only throwing money to the people. No, because we have thrown money before. Let us look at the entire picture on what needs to be done to ensure that these households at the parish can actually start to look after their lives as themselves. That's why you see the parish model has 7 pillars, and those pillars are targeting different things, right from getting agriculture as a value chain to work, getting the local governance sorted out. That's why now the entire Uganda is going to have parish chiefs for the first time. Yet decentralization started in 1997.
93.
90 what?
93.
93.
93. But they haven't been getting the...
But you're reintroducing them. They used to be
and
there.
those people are going now to be the ones to pretend over these resources. We are going to see rural infrastructure catered for to ensure that people can be able to transport their agricultural produce they have produced to the market. We are going to see water and sanitation and education and monitored better. So the parish model, to me, really Ugandans need to embrace it as something which is likely to emphasize on how we can make government and government intervention truly pro-people, and they get to the people down where they are. Honorable Kiza was saying that we have a challenge of supplementary budgets. Absolutely. And supplementary budgets, they are nothing but it's also, they are indiscipline. It's indiscipline because your budget, and by the time you are budgeting, you are planning that I will do this and this. So the only thing which should go into supplementary, they are those unforeseeable and unavoidable expenditures. And I've told the people, right from my own ministry and across government, including Honorable Chivumbi in his committee, that please let us work together as people who are in, because it wouldn't be a Ramadan's job to get this supplementary out of the system. It has to be all of us who are involved in the budgeting and accountability process to ensure that I'm going to play my role as Secretary of the Treasury. Like I've told the entire government, don't bring me a supplementary for wage shortfall, because you know very well you must pay for the people you are on the payroll. Budget for them. They have the first call on the budget. Therefore, if I see a letter next financial year beginning July with a headline, request for a supplementary to cover wage shortfall,
like science teachers,
that letter is going somewhere. Now, you need to realize that this is going to be a marathon, but we are going to get there. I want to assure you, we shall get there by reducing this. But of course there will be supplement. That's why it is in the law. There will be some supplementaries which will be genuine. For example, you have a security situation, like the one now in Karamoja. It came in the middle of the financial year. The soldiers we have sent to Congo to sort out the issue of ADF, which are all of you know the challenge we had here. That's a supplementary for sure, because it wasn't in the budget. You have a flood happening and destroying things, and the money in our emergency fund has been exhausted, or like a COVID, how it hit us. It wiped out the money we had in the contingency fund. That one, definitely you will accept a supplementary. But for those things which are avoidable, no supplementary. The debt service, which I want to answer together with the Honorable Chivumbi. You know, Honorable Chivumbi is my MP. He represents me in Parliament.
or misrepresents you.
You really have trouble then.
But I've been watching him over time, and we speak also privately. Honorable Chivumbi is a very, very eloquent analyst of economic issues, but is also very good at telling people wrong things. And you know, he's a very good representative of wrong numbers, wrong analysis. But I want to believe that it is not doing it out of
Malice.
no, not malice per se, but he's a very good politician. And I know his political colors.
I like the way you're choosing your words to describe
I want
your
to choose
MP.
them very carefully, because he might stop, representing me. But I want to tell Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi and the country, number one, we read annual budgets in the context of medium-term frameworks. We budget both, and he knows very well, because we give him all these documents. we have what we call a medium-term expenditure framework,
MTEF.
In which we define our multi-year plan that we are going to build infrastructure, we are going to do parish model, we are going to do this over the medium term. But this year, 2022-23, we are going to first do the following in line with this plan. And that's why we do the annual budget. And that annual budget is nothing but actually more of a political statement, because these budgets are done by the politicians with the help of us technical people to fulfill the promises they made to the people, to give them votes. And when Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi becomes a leader in the future, I mean the other side of the coin, he needs never to underestimate the power of the budget, and especially the annual budget, in changing especially the policy outlook of the people and the country. Secondly,
so what lies?
He was talking about NDP. I'm coming to the lies. I first, I start with the small ones. NDP 3, Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi, from today, please go and tell everybody in this country, including yourself, NDP 3 is the Bible or the Quran as far as these earthly things of Uganda are concerned, of Uganda's medium-term development agenda. Whatever we want to do, we sat down, you approved it in Parliament, that let us follow this. We are going to do a medium-term review. In that medium-term review, we are going to assess these assumptions we based the NDP on. Are they still relevant? If they find that one assumption has been, for example, turned around by COVID, then that's when you will sit in Parliament and say, this one, let us change it this way. Until we learn the discipline in this country of adhering to the plans we have ourselves proclaimed as a country that this is what we shall follow. We shall not change our lives, because we want just to, to keep on moving as the winds are blowing us. No. Let us stick to the plan, because this plan is good. It started with the putting emphasis on infrastructure, bridging the infrastructure gap. You can see what has happened now. The road infrastructure has improved in the country and is improving. Now it is saying, let us satisfy the overall goal of this by targeting household incomes, improving them. Let us do that as a country. Now I come to the lies. You are saying that recurrent expenditure is outweighing the development expenditure in the budget, that the recurrent expenditure is, and I've been seeing this, and also with other people, I would want you to stop actually misinterpreting these numbers. When we borrow money in this country, we borrow money mainly, and you are the ones who approve these loans in Parliament, we borrow this money to do particular projects. We borrow the money to do Karuma, to build a dam. We borrow the money to do all of these roads we have done across the country. And that money we have borrowed is what has accumulated into what we call a debt burden, or what we love to call a debt burden, or our debt kind of stock. Now, when you come to the TV here, on the newspaper, on the radio, and you say our debt now is too high and it is recurrent expenditure because you have added these numbers, this money is actually there in the projects. I want to tell you that about 65% of the budget which you approved is already committed to doing projects which are going to change the development spectrum of this country, in building electricity dams and power lines,
that doesn't take away,
building roads.
That doesn't take away the fact that you work with the debt ceiling.
Yes.
Agreed on, I think, Would you refer to the Bretton Woods institutions, World Bank, IMF, that there is a standard?
There are two things now you are confusing. A debt ceiling and the recurrent versus development expenditure. I was first of all explaining the issue he talked about, that most of our money we have now is in recurrent.
Yes.
Because he got the 48, we got out the money which we are spending, which we are counting as projects and projects which is development. Then the rest, including refinancing of the debt, which we call debt rollover and so on, for him he is considering it as recurrent. I'm saying this debt is locked up mainly in projects which are going to develop this country, from infrastructure to, and this infrastructure known. We are building roads, we are building electricity dams,
in which case he's actually
bridges,
not lying.
agriculture, irrigation schemes and so on.
We could get lost in the semantics, but I think he's not lying.
No, the lie is this.
What is the lie?
He wants to tell Ugandans that recurrent expenditure is too much, we are wasting money.
He is asking Ugandans, if I listen to him well, he's telling Ugandans...
Why are you speaking on his behalf?
No, he's here, I'm the moderator of the show. He said that our debt stock is so high. It is above the percentage that you presented, or the minister presented.
I'm coming to the numbers.
Okay.
I'm going to give you the numbers themselves. That's why I'm saying, why are you speaking on his behalf?
Yes.
The debt to GDP ratio, the other one, I finished that. In other words, most of our money, which he calls recurrent, is actually development expenditure, is in projects.
Okay.
Which are going to add value to the development of the country. But when I come to the debt GDP ratio...
Can I ask for clarification?
Yes.
Between you and me, for the uninitiated.
In lying.
No, in lying. We have a resource envelope.
Yes.
Which you prepare.
Yes.
And this resource envelope speaks to these numbers, which you have quoted.
Yes.
The numbers I've quoted about recurrent and development were in the budget speech.
Not really?
Where in the budget speech?
Not really.
By the minister, by the way.
The numbers...
the numbers
I've quoted, you have mixed, you are mixing them up.
They were in the budget speech. Because you are saying resources are locked. Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Where is debt refinancing locked in any project?
Debt refinancing is this.
Is locked where?
Please listen. You have asked. Debt refinancing is when we issue a bond as government or a treasury bill, and all people go to the banks and buy these bonds. They give the money to the government of Uganda, and the government of Uganda invests this money in a project. We have a list of projects in what we call a PIP, which you know very well. And those projects are the ones which are having this money. We don't pay back that money. What we do, the following year when we should have paid the money, we pay the interest. And then roll over that debt because it is locked up in those projects.
Where has he lied?
No, he has lied in this way. He's like saying that government has borrowed money, got it, and it can't use it for development purposes. It is just spending it on security, wasting it around. I've had a lot of this, you have said. Yes, you have made it here.
Okay.
That we are spending,
that's what you want to insinuate.
that we are spending on governance and security. We are not spending the money on the development. You say the development is outweighing recurrent. I want to tell you that's not true.
Okay, are you about to conclude? Because
I'm about to conclude.
Yes, please.
If you didn't interfere, actually, I would have concluded a long time ago. Debt to GDP ratio. Now we come to that one.
The big lie.
This one is the biggest now. Because now, you see, IMF pretends over all countries in numbers. So you can't anywhere go and hide a number. By the way, this one should get out of Honorable Mwanga's head, that someone is telling him the half-truth about the numbers of debt. The minister told you our debt to GDP ratio was 49% as at December 2021. We measure debt by end of year, half year, and then end of year. He can't report a number before the year we have closed the books. Now, the 52 you were talking about, which was presented in the budget that you appropriate, was a projection. The minister was announcing what we call
History.
not history.
Projection.
Not history. The number which we call an outturn. An outturn, mid-year. Now we are going to close the books by the end of this fiscal year. And Parliament, you're going to get the figure as it is going to turn out.
Thank you.
It might be 50. No.
Yes.
So what lie did I tell?
Please listen very well. Let me tell you the numbers. I'm the Secretary of the Treasury. The 55 you are talking about, actually it's not even 55, 54, is a projection for end of 2020 to 23 in the new budget which we have now brought you.
Okay.
We are saying that it would be the money which is borrowed by then. So there are no numbers which government can hide anywhere. What we tell you is the outturn and also the projections as they are.
I believe I've provided you enough time to respond to the issues.
Absolutely.
Let me take just a few messages from some of our viewers. Reverend Dr. Grace Lubale says, I am following as long as the government lacks financial discipline and scale of preference, as put by Honorable Kiza, good paperwork of my colleague, Honorable PSST, will be history and of less value to development. That's Reverend Grace Lubale. The Honorable Margaret Mohanga is watching us and has sent a fairly long message here, which I want to read. She says, the youth, women, disabled, etc. are children and wives of the 20% who purportedly own the land. The 20% are the middle-aged men who are neither youth nor elderly. They aren't in the vulnerable category, and so they'll guide the others into viable projects, hence into the money economy. If we keep on looking at the whys and whats, we may never move forward to help the 39% population still in subsistence economy, i.e. living hand to mouth. We must train our people, change their mindset, encourage them to work and earn. It will pay off in the long run. Poverty is actually not lack of money and things, but it's brought about by social exclusion and limited horizons for fulfillment. Let the poor participate in the money economy. Have faith. That is Margaret Mohanga watching us. I want to jump. Yes, Dennis Musinguzi. I think I read the message from Dennis Musinguzi. I have seen a message from Asimwe, Simon Asimwe, who's asking that you've taken away the business of the printers on Nasa Road and Nkrumah Road, and you're saying you want to lock it up with
there is a directive
from the president. How exactly are you helping
should be done by
some of those people
the new vision
survive in this money economy?
The ones who survive in the money economy at Nasa Road and Nkrumah Road, they are locked out of the money economy that you think should work for everyone. What plans do you have for such a category of people? That was the question. Yes,
you may not have to respond to that immediately because I'm afraid time is running very short and we need to jump to the next topic. And I want to go back to the Honorable Mwanga Chivumbe. Did you members of Parliament, have you received the 40 million shillings being talked about? Where did it come from?
To eat or not to eat? That is the question.
Now, two things happen. One, we are paid by him. The commission, and good enough we have a former commissioner at the lead of opposition, and we have a historical memory of Honorable Norbert Mao. We have the payer, a once commissioner, and an encyclopedia. This time you're out of the picture. You can keep quiet. Now,
well, I know you want to deny that you haven't received the money.
No.
But you will not get away with that one.
Now, two things. For any member of Parliament to be paid.
Honorable Mwanga Chivombe, if I could cut in, it's a simple question of yes or no. Have you received the money or not?
I myself, no.
As members of parliament, have you received the
No,
money
no.
or not?
I myself, no. Because the only money I get and earn and get paid for is through my bank account and from Bank of Uganda and paid by him.
You are the minister, you are the shadow minister for finance.
Yes.
The party you represent in parliament through Butambala issued a statement calling on new members to refund the money. Which money were they asking you to refund?
Yeah, I personally participated in that meeting.
So you're part of the
I'll tell you
resolution.
And I will tell you two standard statements here. One, as the Shadow Minister for Finance, by the way, I pioneered flagged off extravagance in government. I advised in this financial year the Shadow Cabinet to resist, even for the benefit of any member of parliament, any increment, because the country was going through a hard time and the people of Uganda were feeling the pinch. We needed to be seen that we are sensitive and we pay attention. And I said, any attempt by anybody in the parliament, and I was on this talk show, I also had the face
off, yes.
with one. I said it would be immoral.
Can you answer the question?
No, let me explain. I said it would be immoral for anyone to attempt to increase their pay, especially members of parliament. And I stand by that statement. Now, I was in a meeting where some members of parliament said they went somewhere and were given money. That's not an official payment through parliament. And we said, this money you get, is it a bribe? Is it what? We said, if you got that money, you are advised to take it back to the giver.
As a senior member of the
And as
National
a senior
Unity
member
Platform,
of NOP,
as a seasoned...
as a senior members of NOP, I hold the same position. It is immoral.
Can I ask the question,
it is
sir?
Insensitive.
Can I ask the question?
It is illegal for any member
Honorable Mwanga
to
Kivombe,
go
can I ask
anywhere
the question?
and receive that
Can
kind
I
of
put the
money.
question to you again?
Yes.
You are a senior parliamentarian. You've been in parliament for more than one term. You are a senior member of the National Unity Platform. Did members receive money or not?
I've told you. I was in a meeting. You listen to me, and I'll repeat. I was in a meeting called by the president of NOP, and some members confessed having received money. Then we told them, if you receive any money, which
Return
is
it.
not paid through the system, through your account, then that money is not good money. Please return it.
So as National Unity Platform, you have a list of
No,
members who
as
received money.
national unit, no, we don't have a list. There are those who said they received.
Okay.
And those who said they received, we are told, please take back the money, the giver.
Do you have an idea where the money came from?
I don't have. We passed a supplementary budget
Yes.
recently in Parliament. He knows the details of the supplementary budget. There was no money for parliamentary commission. In that supplementary, it was 619, is it, billion? Around that money. Part of that money was for Suja, okay? The other money was for operation in Karamoja. The other one was to pay for shortfalls on wages. The other one was to pay for classified expenditure, 77 billion for State House. I don't remember any money that was supposed to go to the parliamentary commission. Therefore, whoever got money from whatever source should have got it not through a supplementary we paid for.
So the basis of the statement from your president, the party president of NOP, was on the confession of members who said they had received
said we got money. Okay? And he said, if you got money, and I explained to the president and the secretary generals and to the top leadership the whole supplementary. I also explained the standard memo I wrote, okay, as the shadow minister for finance, advisory for the whole opposition in parliament. And I said, any increment, whether on emolument, whether on salary, whether on whatever reason, in these circumstances, would be immoral.
Okay. So, just one last question to you. Was that payment apparently only to your members, those who confessed, or was it broadly spread in Parliament?
Now, you're asking too much of me. I only know those who confessed. So I have not interacted with others who have not told me
there is a history,
and have not received.
There is a history with Parliament and money. The source never gets defined. We first saw this in 2006, towards the 2005. We saw it again in 2011. We saw it again in 2015. So there is a history about money in Parliament that doesn't come through the Parliamentary Commission.
Yes,
but
Ofono at every question where that man has come to my account personally.
Ofono Pondo was asking you not to deny and said you will not get away with a lie. What did you want to say about that money?
Oh knows.
You see, you see, Mwanga Kivumbi has tried to be clever by half. And I think the viewers can make their conclusion. Does NUP leadership act on rumors more so when you put pen to paper and you demand that return the money by media accounts, which none of them has denied? The chief whip of the opposition, Honorable Nbs, actually said he went to his office and sat the whole day, because basing on the confession in Kamwcha, NUP members were supposed to were supposed to take the money to him, so that perhaps he now takes back to whoever had given NUP MPs money, implying that Nbs and indeed NUP knew the source of the money. Otherwise, why was Nbs seated in his office waiting for NUP MPs to bring what they had got illicitly to him if he didn't know the source? So where was he going to return to take this money, this illicit money? Mwanga Kivumbi is trying to be, well, I wouldn't want to insult him, but we know members of Parliament, not just in this Parliament. In the last Parliament, Mwanga Kivumbi was in. 2020, you remember? The COVID money, the 10 billion.
And to tell you the truth, I was also blown that
the 10 billion. It had to take this show. I don't know whether you were our moderator at the time.
No, I wasn't.
It had to take this show to hold the speaker, then speaker, by the collar, to hold members of Parliament by the collar, and eventually the president made a directive
that the money be refunded.
And remember, the late speaker, Honorable Jacob Bolanyi, the right Honorable Jacob Bolanyi, as then deputy speaker, took the lead to return the money, and many members of Parliament, especially from the NRM side, took the chew and returned the money.
The opposition late.
I don't remember. I don't remember.
Yes.
all the opposition members returning that money. I'm saying I don't remember. If they did,
at least Honorable
Semuju and said he had.
He's going to use the
money.
money.
Before the speaker made that pronouncement, I had returned mine.
You also returned
not
money.
all the money.
Honorable Karahanga had even gone to court to challenge it with the
especially illicit money.
On Nbs Live,
especially illicit money. Especially the illicit money members of Parliament.
I wrote a report that takes
Especially accusing another opposition member who was then chairing the committee on local government of taking money from the proprietor of Nakasero Market. You remember? You remember that story? You can go back.
Of local government.
You can go back.
Yes,
checked by the opposition.
Okay.
Public Accounts Committee of Local Government.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. You go and check. Go and check the controversy between. Go and check the controversy, the accusation of Honorable Lukwago against an opposition person who was chair.
Parliament, it was individual merit.
Well,
there.
I'm now telling you, go and check what Lukwago, the person Lukwago accused at that time. So the point I'm really making is, they can try to be clever. That, you see, he's talking in a winding. You ask him, he doesn't answer direct questions. But anyway, the point has been made. We know. The point has been made. We know that there is some illicit money that members of parliament received.
But
it is now, the onus now is on them who have confessed to their principle in a formal meeting. The onus is on them to disclose who gave them the money, because by the time somebody calls you out of parliament or in parliament to actually receive 40 million in cash, what are you?
Okay, but
because they have been pretending to be people who want transparency, who want to live within the confines of the rule of law, who are frugal. By the time, because none of them says, I was dragged to go and pick this money. They walked or drove to wherever they picked the money. So we must push MPs to
some say they received phone calls and made phone calls and asked other people to pick on their behalf.
Yes.
But
so I think this answering, where they say, I'm yet to receive mine, is one. They hope that by this tactic of answering, that somehow the questions will go away.
What do you say to what many claim from 2005? When some MPs who were not trusted enough went and found hands only coming up and putting money on the table, and then others being told they did not qualify. I think it must have been Theodore Sechikubo then who told Andrew Mwenda on the Tonight with Andrew Mwenda Live that he went expecting to receive, and you could see hands coming up with money.
But the source of the money, but by the way, even that one, Honorable Sechikubo had
was it a hand that could see?
Honorable Sechikubo had gone.
People were like under the table.
Listen, even that one, Honorable Sechikubo had gone to receive the money. He only talked because
he didn't receive it.
Honorable and Hope refused to give him the money. So his son can.
The question is upon.
Yes.
The question is.
Yes.
The source of the money seems to be one singular. So did that source release money?
No. That one of 2005. That was correct. That was
the president.
No, that was the Mosa Court. And I want to believe perhaps that was movement at that time, which was battling constitutional amendment. Now this one, the people have confessed to have received the money, and no members of parliament.
Okay.
They must tell us from whom they received it and for what purpose.
The issue of money around parliament is not a new thing. Just like OO has said, in 2005, money was given to members of parliament to change the constitution. The 5 million around Mosakot. Members took it. If I may speak to recent occurrences, there is money that was given to members of parliament, purportedly to go and consult their voters.
You mean the 29 million?
On age limit.
No, on age limit. The 29 limit. No, before the age limit money, there was money that was given to members of parliament to go and monitor.
Yes.
To go and monitor NAD's programs. Was it 20 million? It was also given to members of parliament.
And the hose?
Sorry?
And you received the hose also?
Myself?
I'm saying, you in Proro, you members of parliament, you received the hose?
That one was, no, they did not give the hose in Pruro. Again, the hose were given selectively. Now, there is money that was given to members of parliament. This time it was majority of the NRM, the 110 million. Actually, around parliament, the talk around parliament was Article 110. To save them from the bad financial discipline that they had then in the 9th parliament, members were broke. And the government, in its own wisdom, the party said we can rescue the members. They gave members 110 million shillings. There is money that was given to the members.
There was a 5 million Kuba came for something like that after an election.
Even even that
to help organize the post-election parties.
Even that one. But there is even money that was given to members of parliament for now, before the 29 million. There are those from the NRM who had kind of resisted the change of the constitution to remove the age limit, who were given 100 million. They first gave 40, then the 60 was given later. Members of the NRM.
Who gives?
The president gave them the money through the chief whip. Now, there is money that was given during COVID. Maybe before COVID, now the 29 that was put on the members' accounts. When we went to court to challenge it, the courts at that time said Parliament has the right to facilitate its members the way it wants. So this money was clean money. When Parliament gave members money, now the 10 million for COVID, it was 20 million for COVID. The same courts said, you know, this was immoral money. Take it back. Parliament did a disservice to Ugandans. I started asking myself, where is the truth?
And the giver also
Chairman Mao,
at
where is
that,
the truth?
At that time, the truth became the victim. Because I started asking. The same court said when Parliament facilitates its members, it's correct. At this time, Parliament is wrong to facilitate its members. Now, in this particular matter of the 40 million, me, I will say that for the members of the National Unity Platform and all those who have said we received phone calls and went to receive the money, that is high level of transparency. I really want to thank them because they are those who have received the money and have kept quiet. But these ones have said...
denying it cleverly.
Oh, they are even denying it cleverly. We are still waiting. What are you waiting for?
I am seeing a list that is circulating
there
on social media.
There are those who received the money and said, yes, we received the money. If someone calls you and says, Charles, come and see me, you reach there and says, I'm your friend, have 40 million. And you say, thank you. But when you reach home, they say, by the way, that money is that money. That person is never our friend as a family. Please take it back. Take it back.
For full
I think that is wise of a parent. Even you as a parent in your own capacity, when your child brings a chicken and he says, so and so is the one who gave me chicken, and you know that that man killed someone in your family, you say, my child,
take that back.
Take this chicken back. We are not friends with those people. The deal may look good at the face of it all, just like we are saying this budget is looking good.
The money might be sweet in the circumstances.
The money might be sweet in the circumstances, but one, like Mwanga Chivumbi is saying, it is immoral. While Ugandans are crying of hiking prices of commodities, the same people who are supposed to service the economy are servicing a few individuals. You know, in Lukonzo there is a saying that those who, if I say it in Lukonzo,
you can say it in Lukonzo.
Those who are okay may not know how bad the situation is in other people's homes. So the situation that we are in, we would request our honorable members of parliament to really be sympathetic to the people they represent. They may give stories of, yes, this money we are taking it to the communities. How many of you will take it there?
There are people saying that, I was hearing of a story that some said, whether we take it or not, the public views us as bad, so it's better to take it.
No, deal with your conscience. What does your conscience tell you? That it's good money or not good money?
Chairman,
by the time you even start saying, I have not received it, when you have received it, your conscience is telling you it's not good money.
Chairman Mao,
so
I need to come in on this.
But I want to thank those who came up to say we have received it, even when we don't know for which reason.
No, let NUP disclose them. If NUP is serious, let them disclose those who confess.
NUP gave a 48-hour deadline.
What I'm saying.
But you know, it was also very wrong for my friend Nbs to say I'm sitting in my office to wait for them to bring me that money, because he's not the one who gave it to them. The directive was take it back to where you got it from.
Okay.
So I thought...
If NUP is genuine, let them disclose the ones who confessed.
From where I come from and go when you go to a local thief stealing a matoke or a chicken or a goat, what they will do, they will tie you behind and put the chicken in front and walk you to, to the police. The whole village you are walking with your own.
Is that when you have caught a chicken thief or a suspect?
Even if it's a suspect.
No, many times the ones they have caught, they catch them red-handed and they put it on you.
Let me get Chairman Mao. Chairman, this story about money and MPs, two specifically and opposition MPs. What does this mean for the institution of Parliament, its reputation, and its ability to push back against government that many say is corrupt?
I also want to thank NUP for being honest about the dishonesty of its members. If there is such a thing as being honest about dishonesty. I do believe that this is the kind of, hypocrisy we are talking about. People go to Parliament for different reasons. There is something which people do and they say everybody is doing it. So whether I don't do it, whether I do it, I'll be accused of doing it anyway. And then the turnover in Parliament is very high. There are many people who have resolved to cash in and get whatever they can get. And now, of course, that is not sustainable. I meet a lot of MPs, and if they were to get their bank statements and to aggregate the money that has passed through their banks, I think they would get a rope and hang themselves, because money is like time. You have to know that it is limited. The other thing is that I do not know, politically speaking, I do not know whether NUP shouldn't have handled this internally. Rather than now broadcasting and say, okay, the dishonest members have, in total disregard of our moral code, kept the whip waiting and they never took the money back. So the bad situation is getting worse. Imagine if you're a priest and you know that your parishioners sin, and you are sitting there in the box and there's nobody coming to confess.
Confessions.
And yet there's a long line at Holy Communion. Then you know that something is not right about the catechism. Now, NUP is not out of Mars, and it is wrong for Ugandans to think that, NUP members have been invented out of some mold. It is the same Ugandan scrap that has been
used to
assemble those MPs. Tin here, copper here, bronze here, and so on.
Everything goes in.
They go and swear. So I'm not surprised. I hope that consoles the likes of Mwanga Chivumbi, who I'm sure in private would have a very strong opinion about these matters. But I'm sure there are even people who will go back later to the president of NUP and say, man, how could you even... Yes, this is not good. It is very important for sometimes a leader to take responsibility concerning the big issue. But now when you write, in other words, you're admitting. So that weakens the moral high ground of a party which is roasting the NRM for corruption and so on. But what I also know is that a lot of these MPs who fall in those traps really need to be continuously vaccinated against those temptations. Because you may actually think the same people who are playing this game, they'll tell you, they will even lie and say, Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi has just been here. So you get emboldened and you go there.
I've seen Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi's name on the list that is circulating.
I tell you, there is a Muyindi who lends MPs. That Muyindi, when he knows, he says, I will not mention his name, he says, may I keep secret? I will give you money, I will not
Even
tell.
Mwanga
The
Chibungu.
Honorable Minister of Finance has just been here.
we need to get out of here. Let's give
This kind of money, it does not come through the bank account. And there are also those who got it and didn't confess in the meeting.
No, but Charles,
Yes.
can we have NOP, if NOP leadership is genuine, let them disclose the few or the many.
By the way,
that
confess. You know, the unfortunate bit.
Let me speak for NOP. I think one.
Gentlemen and lady, I'm afraid our time is out. Really, we need to get out of here.
Let me speak for NOP. I think one, NOP, one of its principles, even all members of NOP took an integrity pledge in Jinja. And when this rumor came, a caucus meeting of parliament was called by the party president. I said, I hear this. What's the true story? Some members said, we received money. NOP said, we are going to be public about it. Because we don't even think you land on dirty things and you hide them. So we are going to be public about it. Okay? And we are going to demand those who have received one, we said, stop. Anyone who has not received, please don't receive. Don't receive. Secondly, those who have received, return. Okay? And we said, we are going to be public about it.
So are you going to issue a list of those who...
No. The challenge with that, let me be honest. This man, unless one comes and confesses, there is no one who should tell you a lie that has a list. Forget about this social
Can you
media.
publicize those who confessed?
No, those who have confessed have actually been in the press. There were 3. So those who confess were told, if you received it, please take it back to a sender. And NOP said, in spirit of transparency, we are not going to hide. Let's be public about it.
Thank you.
Let NRM,
let's have let's have the PSST.
Call your members also.
Our time is out. Our time is out.
Are you saying? Are you able to say that Parliament has not increased any allowance from last year or from the other Parliament? Are you saying that Parliament has not increased any allowance for members of Parliament?
I've said before.
So, and if it has increased,
no.
are you able to refine it as immoral? That increment.
That's what I said, that I gave an advisory.
You don't have to answer that.
Yes.
Let's have the PSST.
It was immoral and wrong.
But before the
you want me to
PSST,
I'm afraid our time is out. We need to get out of here.
This tells you how our economy looks like. You know, many people have been saying Kabushenga told a lie. Ugandans are broke. They can't afford life.
Okay.
That is why members of parliament are getting into the trap of even accepting money that is otherwise not
The challenge is, Honorable Winnie, you laid out a very long list. So meaning that we have been permanently in that situation since time immemorial. That's
Somebody even published the pay slip of the NOP spokesperson. He said it is fake, but didn't publish the genuine one. You see, soon some people are going to go into exile.
No, but you see,
if somebody told me that this is Mao's pay slip, I'll publish the genuine one.
The exact thing that I think these schools that are caught in that video drama did, the school that hired out the bus.
The Nyege bus.
Yes, the bus was able to come and also publish in their statement a receipt on which they hired the bus to the other school. And I think that ended the discussion on the owner of the bus and left the responsibility on the one who had hired it. Honorable PSST, please, I need you to conclude. Someone has sent a question and asked, can you confirm to Ugandans that we are actually in middle income status?
Let me see the question.
Pardon?
Let me see the question.
It is here. It is on Twitter. No. It's a question on Twitter.
Is the moderator being honest?
But he did ask for other questions.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
It was a joke.
Ben non friend to Namatsko on Twitter.
That is the level how we have
We can't trust these people anymore.
Anybody can
say a viewer has a question when it is your question.
No, Ben friend to Namatsko on Twitter. has the question. All of you can access
I
it.
was pulling your leg.
Yes, I know.
Number one, I want to confirm to Ugandans that our GDP has increased to 45.7 billion US dollars
What?
from 41.3 billion dollars. And as a result of that, our GDP per capita, if we were to agree as Ugandans to share that GDP equally, each Ugandan would get $1,046, or about 3.7 million shillings a year. And by World Bank definition, you get to middle income if your gross national income per capita goes above $1,039. So by virtue of the fact that we are above that cutoff point, if we could sustain that for 3 years consecutively, because for you, it's not actually Uganda to declare ourselves. We have surpassed that threshold, but we have to sustain it, and then World Bank will declare us officially as a middle-income economy.
Our time is out. We need to get out of here. I'd like to thank you, Mr. Ramadan Gobi, Permanent Secretary of Treasury, for making time for the Frontline. I'd like to thank you, Frontliner, the Honorable Winnie Kiza. Thank you, the Honorable Mwanga Chivombi, Shadow Finance Minister, Member of Parliament for Tambala. I'd like to thank you, Opono Pondo,
he has struggled
Frontliner and head of the Uganda Government Media Center. I'd like to thank you, the Honorable Norbert Mao, President General of the Democratic Party and a Frontliner. Thank you very much to you all, our viewers, for joining us tonight and always. And thank you very much to the production crew that stay up late to deliver the show to you. From me, until next Thursday.
Thank you. And the economy looks good.